This is Dr. Ed Hoskins welcoming you to Lessons in Discipleship, a series designed to help new believers become established in their Christian faith. Today's topic, parenting and child discipline. First, let me tell you a little about myself. I'm a retired physician who spent 34 years in family medicine and student health. I became a Christian 50 years ago and was helped early in my faith by the Navigators, an international, non-denominational Christian organization whose goal is to know Christ and to make him known. Lessons in Discipleship is a compilation of what I learned from the Bible and under the guidance of the Navigators during that time period. Today's session is parenting and child discipline. Well, let's start off. What is biblical parenting? Biblical parenting is modeling God's character to our children through the love and actions of the father and mother. As they grow to maturity, we are helping them transition from our protection and authority to God's. Proverbs 22 says, "Train up a child in the way he should go, and when he's old, he will not depart from it." 1 Thessalonians 2 says, "You know that we dealt with each of you as a father deals with his own children." Well, next question, what is biblical child discipline? Well, biblical child discipline sets boundaries for godly behavior. Lovingly, it reinforces good attitudes and behaviors. At the same time, it puts boundaries against inappropriate behavior. Ephesians 6 says, "Children, obey your parents in the Lord, for this is right. Honor your father and mother, which is the first command with a promise, that it may go well with you and that you may enjoy long life on the earth." It says, educate children. It says, do not frustrate your children, but instead bring them up in the training and instruction of the Lord. Well, why is child discipline necessary? Well, ever since sin came into the world through Adam, all children are born with a sinful tendency. Psalms 51 says, "Surely I've been a sinner from birth, sinful from the time my mother conceived me." I'd like to tell you a story. My wife was talking with a girlfriend of hers many years ago. And this girlfriend came from another country, actually from Bangladesh. And she was really frustrated about her little daughter. And she told Charlene, I never taught my child to lie. What happened? Well, it turned out that the daughter had been playing in the front room, and in the back bedroom, the wife, the girlfriend, heard this loud crash. She ran in and saw her daughter standing around this broken vase. She said to the daughter, "Did you do this?" And the daughter says, "Oh, no, of course I didn't do it." Well, of course, she knew that the wife knew that the daughter had done it. And she told Charlene, "I didn't teach my child to lie. How can this possibly happen?" Well, the Bible says very clearly why it can happen. All children need to be taught to tell the truth. They don't need to be taught how to lie. Part of biblical parenting is effective child discipline. I know this is a threatening topic today, but basically we discipline our children because we love them. Hebrews 12 says, "Endure hardship as discipline." God is treating you as sons or daughters. For what son is not disciplined by his father? If you are not disciplined, and everyone undergoes discipline, then you are illegitimate children and not true sons or true daughters. Moreover, we have all had human fathers who disciplined us, and we respected them for it. How much more should we submit to the Father of our spirits and live? Well, probably the most important thing first is to find out how serious was the offense. First, differentiate between childish and irresponsible behavior and defiant behavior. Childish and irresponsible behavior would include things like the following: a child acting silly in the living room and falling against a table and accidentally breaking some expensive china, or a child accidentally losing their bicycle and forgetting where they put it, and maybe it's gone forever. Another irresponsible behavior is maybe leaving Dad's power saw out in the rain where it rusted. Defiant behavior is more serious. It is a direct challenge to authority. One thing we've learned over the years is we consider what we call the 3 Ds: dishonesty, disobedience, disrespect. This is defiant behavior. We'll address them shortly. But first, how do we deal with childish and irresponsible behavior? Answer: with a verbal reprimand and restitution. If not dealt with, childish and irresponsible behavior can lead to more serious behavior problems and result in negative consequences. Here's a story of what happened to me when I was just a young boy of around 6 years old. I was out shopping with my mother on a Saturday morning, and we were going through one of the stores, and I came out of the store, and my mother had her purchases, and I had a packet of rubber bands, in my pocket. Well, my mother immediately knew that I just didn't find them. And I asked her, and she asked me if I took them from the store, and I said yes. Well, she didn't want to. She explained that she would buy some rubber bands for me if I ever wanted them, but right now she had a responsibility for me. It's called retribution. Making things right. Not retribution, but restitution. She marched me back into that store. She had me find the manager of the store and tell him exactly what I had done, and I gave the rubber bands back. Well, I've never forgotten that story, but that was childish behavior. It wasn't that story that wasn't more serious, but had not been taken care of, it could and would have wound up with something more serious later in life. Now let's get to the tougher one. Let's cover something more serious. Remember the 3 Ds from a previous slide? Disobedience, dishonesty, disrespect. Let's touch on each of these. Each of these is a direct challenge to the God-given authority above us. Disobedience, this is a direct challenge. Ultimately, all authority comes from God. Learning to respect a parent's authority is the first step towards learning to submit to God's authority. Second offense is dishonesty, the second D. This is a direct challenge to truth. Note that this is the essence of why Jesus came into the world to begin with. Jesus, before Pilate, he said in John 18, "For this I was born, and for this cause I came into the world to testify to the truth." Incidentally, a challenge to truth also includes integrity issues such as lying, theft, and deceit. Leviticus 19 says, "Do not lie, do not steal, and do not deceive one another." Let's continue on the 3 Ds. Number 3, the third D is disrespect. Whether it's being mouthy or whether it's talking back to a parent or authority, this is a direct challenge to another person's character, their inner self. How we respect our parents and authority is ultimately how we will respect and relate to God. Malachi 1:6 says, "A son honors his father and a servant his master. If I am a father, where is the honor due me? If I am a master, where is the respect due me, says the Lord Almighty." Again, a violation in any of the 3 Ds must be summarily and effectively dealt with. If not, it will eventually lead to the destruction of our children, either spiritually, physically, or both. Before getting into specific pointers, let's look at a few more Bible verses that having to do with child discipline. Proverbs 13 says, "He who spares the rod hates his son, but he who loves him is careful to discipline him." Proverbs 23 instructs parents, "Do not withhold discipline from a child. If you punish him with the rod, he will not die. Punish him with the rod and will save his soul from death." Proverbs 19 says, "Discipline your son, for in that there is hope. Do not be a willing party to his death." I know it sounds serious. It is serious. Here are some more specific pointers. Don't discipline in anger. Do it in love. Use verbal affirmation whenever possible, but always tell, "I love you. I just don't like what you did. That's why I discipline you." Second, don't verbally abuse or make use of name calling. This is not a time to shame children. We still want to always respect them. We want to break their wills, but not their spirit. Third, identify rules and boundaries in advance. For example, I was always touching electrical cords. My father had to take care of that because he knew that if I would continue to do that, it might kill me. Fourth, be consistent. Don't discipline for some things and then later for the same offense not do anything about it. That's a terrible thing for children to have parents or their authority be inconsistent in discipline. Fifth, make the punishment immediate. Ecclesiastes writes, "When the sentence for a crime is not quickly carried out, the hearts of the people are filled with schemes to do wrong." Here's some more pointers continued. 6, give affection immediately afterwards. A hug and "I love you, I just don't like what you did." 7, be sure that the discipline is painful in some form. If it's not painful, then there's probably no lesson being learned. However, if you're using swats, limit the number used. 8, if you're using swats, use a neutral object like our family We have one of my family members, a child, used Mr. Spanky for their children. It was simply a wooden spoon that they pictured a child, and they pictured a face with a frown on it, and this was hung over the doorway. Children knew if they were going to get a swat, it would be done with Mr. Spanky. In other words, the child does not associate the object with you, such as with you use your hand. A natural body area for paddling that is well padded in a young child is their bottom. Remember, as the child ages, this type of punishment, physical punishment, should rapidly be transitioned to other forms, loss of privileges, grounding, verbal reasoning, etc., especially as children's ability to verbally to reason with them. Ninth, whatever punishment you use, don't damage the person. Don't break the skin or bruise it. Never, ever, ever beat a child. Don't strike areas more likely to be damaged, such as slap them or hit their ears or eyes or face. If you do that, that's abuse. Don't do that. 10th, sometimes as parents, we go a little too far in punishment. If we do, be sure to apologize. I've done that and I've apologized. It helps the relationship, does not hurt it. Don't forget the ultimate goal. It's respect for God-given authority and obedience. Here's some further thoughts. The wise parent knows there are more and better tools for punishment, such as timeouts, restitution, apologizing to the offended party, loss of privileges, deduction from allowance, actual consequences. Here's a personal story. I was involved with my brother, played a musical instrument, and he had reeds that were very expensive. Back then, they cost $3.50 each. That was quite a lot of money 50 years ago. Well, my brother had told me, don't ever play with my reeds. Well, I saw them one day and I played with it, and I thought, well, I'm going to just bend it. It looks bendable. And unfortunately, it went crack, snapped in two. So how should the discipline take place? Well, my father wisely chose that as a restitution. I need to pay it back. Well, my father gave me the job of painting our backyard fence on a Saturday morning when other children were out playing and having fun with their friends. I had to paint the back fence for 5 hours, and I got 50 cents an hour for 5 hours or for 7 hours till I could pay off the money for that $3.50 reed. Second further thought, physical punishment is most effective for very young children with limited verbal ability. As children age, this type of punishment should be completely phased out. Here's a story about the rock in a dented car. My son and a young friend of his, they were out in front of and they were throwing rocks in our front lawn. Another car came along, driving along, and my son threw a rock, and it dented just a very tiny dent in front of the car. The angry person came to our yard and came to contact me and was very upset. And I told my son, well, we're going to have to take care of it. And we did. We promised to take care of it. But in order to do that, who should earn the money for that? Should it be me? No. Our son had to work. We gave him odd jobs to do, and he actually missed out on certain presents. So we made equivalent money until he could pay off the debt. He has never forgotten that story. Third, don't damage a child. If you're leaving bruises or breaking the skin, this is not spanking, it is beating. Don't do it. That is abuse. Few other further thoughts. For any kind of discipline, restitution, making things right, is always essential. No matter whether it's childish behavior or defiant behavior, restitution is always essential. Fifth, being consistent in punishment reinforces a child's sense of safe boundaries. If there are no boundaries, it gets very uncomfortable for anyone. Sixth, every situation is different and unique. The Christian parent must pray and ask God for wisdom in how to handle each situation. But each incident is also another opportunity for deeper communication and emotional support and teaching. Let's summarize what we've learned in this brief presentation. First, the purpose of discipline is teaching the child obedience and respect for authority. Second, pray and ask for God's wisdom in each situation. Third, plan ahead and agree on specific rules and consequences. Fourth, a husband and wife should agree on their approach to discipline and be consistent. 5, make all discipline immediate. Afterwards, always use physical affection and affirmation. 6, Discipline is a reflection of the character of God. This helps our children see God better. 7th, don't discipline in anger. 8th, never, ever beat a child. This is abuse. 9th, immediately following discipline, this is often an unusual opportunity for teaching, communication, and spiritual growth. Well, we will see you next time when we cover lesson 24 of Lessons in Discipleship, when our topic will be Interpreting the Bible, Principles of Hermeneutics. Well, that wraps up today's presentation. Thanks for coming and being a part. Until next time, keep following Jesus. He's worth it.